Get ready to see the most unusual and rare historical photos. I will be glad to receive your subscription. The members of Goddard's squadron are in the photo. Another man's face is clearly visible behind one of the pilots. Colleagues said that this was Fred Jackson, an aircraft mechanic who died a couple of days before the photo shoot that took place on the day of his funeral. Manufacture of prosthetics for soldiers wounded in the facial region, 1918. In 1918, the manufacture of prosthetics for the face was at an early stage of development, but there were already techniques that were used to create artificial body parts. 19-year-old Gertrude Ederle was the first woman to cross the English Channel. She covered the distance of 56 kilometers in 14 hours and 31 minutes, improving the previous achievement of men by 1 hour and 59 minutes. On May 24, 1913, a fight took place between Luther McCarthy and Arthur Pelkey. 2 minutes after the start of the fight, McCarthy collapsed from a light blow from his opponent. While the referee was counting down 10 seconds, a pillar of light fell on the boxer's body, and all the while, he was shining a light on Luther, who was lying on the floor. After 8 minutes, the doctors determined that McCarthy had passed away. The next day, the arena where the fight took place burned to the ground. The legendary American streamliner is in the photo. Union Pacific M 10,000 diesel train. The Indians also give the ceremonial salmon to the train driver. The photo was taken in April 1940 near Celilo Falls, Oregon. Ride comfortably. BMW R11, Germany, 1929. R11 motorcycles were often equipped with bassinets, and they were rarely used in the solo configuration. Tom Torlino, a Navajo Indian, before entering Carlisle Industrial School in 1882 and after 3 years of study. Special shoes of the U.S. Special Forces. 1964. Footprints from ordinary shoes could easily give them away to the enemy, so a special sole was used to leave footprints similar to the prints of the bare feet of the local population. British soldiers unload a cart with shells in Drocourt, France, on October 15, 1918. The Damascus Gate in Jerusalem, 1937. A shepherd boy sells goat cheese with producers, Paris, France, spring, 1935. Futurist poet Goldschmidt tries to hypnotize a chicken, 1923. Schoolgirls go home to change clothes because tight trousers, shorts, and breeches were banned at their school, West Berlin, 1953. An election campaign poster with the inscription, "You are the majority," France, 1969. At a table in the famous Paris Café de la Paix, 1952. Café de la Paix is a famous café in the 9th arrondissement of Paris. It was designed by Charles Garnier, the author of the Paris Opera building located on the same square. Vicky Dugan, 1958. She got the nickname Back because of her dresses, which were not just open at the back. They were cut off just above the gluteal cavity, which caused a real stir. Jose Mifra set an incredible speed record of 204.73 kilometers per hour on this bike in 1962. His bike was modified with a reinforced frame, wooden rims, and a huge 130-prong sprocket. The Settlement of the Poor in Central Park, New York, 1932. The result of a lost bet on the outcome of the U.S. presidential election, 1948. The monumental stone coins used by the Yap people are still the current currency on the island of Palau. Young Jean-Paul Belmondo. Charming freak, Belmondo was called by the audience of the first films with his participation. A dancer from the New York Ziegfeld Revue in an Erte costume, 1920. The girls from the Corps de Ballet, the Audrey Hepburn Centre. Cambridge Theatre, London, 1949. Michalowski's brother and sister, who ran a dance marathon for 3,327 hours, 1931. During the Great Depression, these dances turned into an opportunity to earn money. The winner could receive up to $5,000, with an average salary of $1,368 per year in the country. However, most participated simply for a roof over their heads and food, as well as in order to receive medical care, which they could not afford. The captains of Chelsea and Tottenham, together with a stylish referee, watched the flight of a coin, 1913. Nebraska resident Audra Thomas is photographed at the moment when a tornado is rushing towards her farm. USA, 1989. On the night of February 24th to 25th, 1942, a siren and a night alarm sounded in Los Angeles, and the gunners opened heavy fire. The military assumed that the city was attacked by the enemy. But at a press conference, Secretary of the Navy Franklin Knox said it was a false alarm. On February 26th, the Los Angeles Times published a photo that was received ambiguously by conspiracy theorists. They saw an alien ship in the spotlight. However, correspondents claim that this is a trick of light, shadow, and retouching of the image. Madame Mison at the window, Belgium, 1910. Photographer, Leonard Mison. Leonard Mison is an artist among the photographers of that time. His pictures reflect a melancholic mood. But despite the thoughtfulness and sadness, his frame is a work of art. When shooting, he used a contour light and its effects. Winter, Amsterdam, 1942. Photographer Karel Blazer. Karel Blazer is a Dutch photographer who participated in the resistance movement during World War II. He was engaged in forging and producing documents for the resistance fighters and for Jews. The photo shows a harsh Dutch winter, and it wasn't just the weather that made it harsh. Man, Tree, and Hurricane Carol. Brooklyn, 1954. Photographer Stanley Hall. Hurricane Carol in 1954 became one of the most powerful hurricanes, with maximum wind speeds reaching 165 kilometers per hour. Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford in the film Meeting of Two Hearts, 1973. John Rockefeller Jr., the only son of the famous billionaire, wore his sister's dresses until he was 8 years old. Elton John, then Reginald Kenneth Dwight, at the age of 6. No matter what they say about him, Elton John has received numerous prestigious awards and accolades during his creative life. Among them are 5 Grammy Awards, 5 Brit Awards, 2 Oscar Awards, 2 Golden Globes, and others. USA? New York? The year is 1977. The queue at the cinema for the premiere of the first Star Wars movie. The picture immediately became a sensation due to the special effects that were innovative for that time. The film brought fame to the actors who starred in it and played a major role in the further development of cinema. The Mona Lisa is taken out of the secret hiding place where it was during the Second World War, 1945. In 1974, Muhammad Ali won a fight against George Foreman at the Rumble in the Jungle in Kinshasa, Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, on October 30th, winning in the 8th round. For this victory, Ali received almost $5.5 million, which exceeded the earnings of Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, and Jack Dempsey in their entire careers. Children Send Their Letters to Santa, London, 1926. (1949) Canada, Montreal. A party at the restaurant Au Lutin Qui Bouffe. The restaurant existed from 1938 to 1972, until the establishment was destroyed by fire. The highlight of the restaurant was a small piglet, which the guests fed during the feast. 1965, USA, Iowa. Beauty contests aren't just for people. Preparing for the Cattle Beauty Contest at the Iowa State Fair. In 1979, Ken Fraser set a record by catching the largest Atlantic bluefin tuna weighing 679 kilograms. The record has not been broken yet. Bathing suits of the early 20th century. At the beginning of the 20th century, bathing suits for women, as a rule, were modest, covered the entire body, including arms and legs, and were made of cotton or wool. 1952, USA, Miss Queen of Sweaters. This year's annual competition was won by Jean Davis from Alabama. June 19th, 1956, the wedding of Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller. Their union lasted 4.5 years and was the longest of all Marilyn Monroe's marriages. Hollywood actress Elizabeth Taylor. She was followed by her 5th husband, Richard Burton, whom she met on the set of the movie Cleopatra, divorced after 10 years, and then remarried him 16 months later. In total, she was married 8 times, but there were 7 husbands, respectively. The year 1922, on the beach in Southend, England, a bucket and a shovel have been constant attributes of children's games on the beach for 100 years. The year is 1937. 2-year-old Elvis Presley and his parents, Gladys and Vernon. "My love for my son began before he was born," Vernon later said. "At that time, almost no one was poorer than me and my wife Gladys. But we were excited and happy when we found out that we were going to become parents." Page Shaving Machine, USA, 1940. Panoramic view of the Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles, California, USA, 1926th year. The vault door of the National Bank in Chicago, which weighs 30 tons. Illinois, USA, 1923. The door is equipped with a temporary lock for 100 hours and rarely opens, only when individual employees enter parts of a combination known to them at the same time. Underwear advertisement in Harper's Bazaar, September 1953. In 1953, Harper's Bazaar continued to be an influential fashion magazine aimed at middle and upper-class women. Henry Leland, the creator of Cadillac, 1905. He also founded the Lincoln Motor Company. Leland was an American engineer, inventor, and industrialist. A 1939 Cadillac railcar from the Nevada Northern Railway Company. It was created so that officials and engineers could comfortably inspect railway tracks. The unique vehicle is on display at the Nevada Railroad Museum and is a popular attraction for visitors interested in the history of railroads and retro cars. Two brothers who fought on opposite sides during the American Civil War. West Virginia, Richwood, USA, 1910s. People watch TV at Waterloo Station in London, United Kingdom, 1936. Paris Toy Factory, France, early 20th century. The dog of the cigarette delivery service and other buns of the 11th Sapper Regiment. He raised the morale of fellow soldiers, was wounded twice. The First World War. An unusual shoe repair advertising car in San Francisco, California. The year is 1922. Young actor Adriano Celentano, with his wife and mother in Palermo, Italy, archive 1960. Germany, 1889, the first cycling world championship in Berlin. Early 1900s, USA. State-of-the-art washing machine. It was a completely manual device. The ladies filled the drum with soap and water, added their clothes, and then manually turned the handle. 1910, the USA. Men at work. Fawzia Fuad, Queen of Iran and Egypt, 1943. Afghan intercity bus, 1970. The suitcases of people sent to Auschwitz. Poland, 1969. The limousine of U.S. President Lyndon Johnson, pelted with paint bags during protests against the Vietnam War, 1966. The most offensive will. It was compiled by Australian Francis Lord, who donated his fortune to friends, charities, and servants, and finally mentioned his wife. He bequeathed her 1 shilling to buy a tram ticket and go somewhere. Rocket Express, a monorail that carried children through the toy department on the 8th floor of the John Wanamaker department store in downtown Philadelphia, 1950s. King George V talks to a young miner, Sunderland, Great Britain, 1911. The Stockholm Telephone Tower was one of the main telephone hubs in Stockholm from 1887 to 1913. The Imperial Guard. Beijing, 1904. This is an elite unit that guarded the emperor and his residence for many dynasties of China. She played an important role in maintaining order and security in the capital, as well as in maintaining imperial authority. The construction of the Capitol in Washington, USA, 1861. This year, the construction of the dome began, which was completed in 1863. The dome has become a significant symbol of the Capitol and the United States as a whole. Jack Daniels, middle row in a white hat with a beard and mustache, with workers at his whiskey factory, Tennessee, 1900s. The Snow Cruiser is an all-terrain vehicle that was created by the Illinois Institute of Technology in 1939 for Richard Baird's next expedition to Antarctica. The first Academy Award ceremony was in 1929. at which actress Janet Gaynor was awarded the award for Best Actress. Chinese vodka bottling plant, 1950. A Peruvian fisherman carries a peixe, a giant South American tropical freshwater fish, to sell it at a market in Iquitos, Peru, 1993. A girl in a retro swimsuit with a monkey on the beach, 1949. Turkish immigrants came to the USA in 1965. Famous actress Sophia Loren at the height of her fame in Rome, 1957. A beach in Japan. There is a signpost in the central plan. It says that men and women should bathe from different sides. The year 1903. Hiroshima Fire Department. It was located 1.2 kilometers from the epicenter of the explosion. August 1945. Young Christopher Walken and his brother helped their father in the family bakery, USA, 1955. 1954, USA, California, Hollywood, Rita Moreno. She was born Rosa Dolores Alverio Marcano, Puerto Rican and American actress, singer, and dancer. At the age of 13, she began her career on Broadway, and in 1977, she became the third person and the second woman to win all the major American show business awards, that is, Oscar, Emmy, Grammy, and Tony. Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Marilyn Monroe on the set of Only Girls in Jazz, 1959. Marie Curie, the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize in her laboratory in Paris, 1912. UN parachutists jump from airplanes in North Korea near the cities of Sukchon and Suncheon, 1950. Muhammad Ali, along with local wrestlers at a national holiday, Iran, 1976. Father, son, and grandfather, New Guinea, 1970. The winner of the Miss Nairobi Beauty Contest, Kenya, 1966. The photo is signed as "A Cavalryman Tries to Hold His Horse," Sweden, 1952. But judging by the picture, it's a horse trying to pull a rider up. The girls are feeding kangaroos, New South Wales, 1925. The interior of a railway carriage from the 1800s. Children make a kite out of money that has become useless paper due to hyperinflation. Germany, 1923. USA, the 50s of the last century. Miss Antifreeze. In America in the 50s, there were just a monstrous number of beauty contests. If you want to participate in the Miss Sausage contest, you want to participate in Miss Antifreeze. The year 1951. Marilyn Monroe. In 1951, one of the journalists criticized Marilyn Monroe, saying that her beauty lies in expensive clothes. As a response, she organized a photo shoot in one of the pavilions of the 21st Century Fox studio, appearing in front of the camera in a dress made from a potato sack. Girls playing on the beach, USA, 1920s. Vishniak's daughter Mara poses in front of a shop specializing in instruments measuring the difference in size of Aryan and non-Aryan skulls. Berlin, 1933. A girl returns from the store with a pot of soup and a bottle of milk. Lodz, circa 1935 to 38. A burlesque dancer entertains military personnel and other visitors by balancing a glass on her head. Leon Eddy nightclub, 52nd Street, New York, 1945. Fish is a favorite food for the kosher table, Eastern Europe, circa 1935 to 38. Used goods seller and stamp collector, Bratislava, circa 1935 to 38. Freshman nurses, including several Holocaust survivors, in a classroom, Beth Israel School of Nursing, Lower East Side, New York, circa 1949. Singer Ida James, Cafe Society, Greenwich Village, New York, 1944. Member of the Cooperative of Charcoal Porters, Warsaw, circa 1935 to 38. Glass cutting and grinding plant worker, Hoffman M.F. Company, New York, 1942 to 44. Customers wait for service at the meat counter during wartime. The sign reads, "No ham, no bacon, no pork, no lamb." Washington Market, New York, 1941 to 44. Waiting for parcels at the distribution counter of the Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, Joint, and at the aid station, Schlachtensee Camp for Displaced Persons, Zehlendorf, Berlin, 1947. A German family walks between taxis in front of the Ufer Palace Cinema, Berlin, 1929 to early 1930. Sailors watch rowing boats in Central Park, New York, 1942 to 44. Mara Vishniak takes figure skating lessons, Berlin, circa 1934. Boys train at the gym of the Bensonhurst Jewish Community Home, Brooklyn, New York, circa 1949. A woman washes windows above Nachfolger Mantler Neumann Spedionen, Mantler Neumann Forwarding Agents, Ferdinandstraße, Leopoldstadt, Vienna, 1930s. Jewish refugees do their laundry, Polish detention camp, Zibashin, November 1938. Vintage image of three curvy beach beauties enjoying a nice day at Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. Two women on boat, 1940s, both enjoying a day at a lake. Vintage image of a penny arcade and circus sideshow at Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. Carolyn Sharp, 22 years old, San Francisco, California, 1959. Woman charging. Electric car. New York, 1912. Young Tuxedo Brass Band, New Orleans, 1959. Two boys fishing in Connecticut. Bridge over the river, Litany, Lebanon, 1890. Bathing beauties emerge from a solarium, a tanning booth, in St. Petersburg, Florida, June 1929. Swimming lessons are part of these undergraduates' curriculum at Tulane University in New Orleans, April 1930. Romeo and Juliet, 1960s. Julie Harris, playing in Stratford Playhouse in Romeo and Juliet. Pool in the General Store, Franklin, Georgia, April 1941. Five dapper fellows posing with an Oldsmobile in an unpaved village street in wintertime. Children wearing Mardi Gras costumes. Royal Ballet in religious ritual dance in Temple of Angkor Wat, wearing richly embroidered and ornamented costumes, 1949. Portrait of the Bell family and friends on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, 1922. Actor Humphrey Bogart preparing to light his cigarette with his wife, Lauren Bacall, during the making of the movie The African Queen, 1951. Bolivian women check out the latest merchandise at a department store, August 1943. Edeka vehicles, including one that is pedal-powered in Germany circa 1920s. Boxer Rock Marciano posing in front of large poster of himself, 1953. Atlantic City, bathing beauties, 1942. Group of young women performing atmospheric pressure experiments while studying science in normal school, Washington, D.C., 1899. Circa 1925. Sally Blaine and Betty Jewell try out the new yodel meter, which measures the pitch of the human voice. Lebanese worker feeding silkworms, 1913. Charles Lindbergh pays a visit to crowds in Surrey, England in his monoplane dubbed The Spirit of St. Louis. Louis, June 1927. Wax mannequins in a shop window melted due to extreme heat, 1929. A letter from a patient with schizophrenia, Emmy Hawke, to her husband. It consists of the words, "Dear, please come," and "Come, come, come," written over and over again. The oldest surviving diving suit, 18th century. A drunk man in a top hat and tailcoat hugs a lantern, London, 1934. Linda Blair's makeup samples for the movie The Exorcist, 1973. Papier-mâché heads from the First World War. Papier-mâché heads were used in the war as a distraction or to detect snipers. a woman in the Wild West wearing a mask designed to protect her skin from the sun. Glurpo, the world's only underwater clown. Children salute the American flag in front of a school in California, 1930s. Actress and artist, 1958, Cannes, France. Pablo Picasso and Tatiana Samoylova at the Cannes Film Festival. The film Cranes Are Flying became the only Soviet film to receive the Palme d'Or. The picture of the photojournalist Bert Hardy, cyclist Ken Joy broke the London speed record in 1949. Japanese soldiers pose with trophies captured in the battles of Khalkhin Gol, the Mongolian People's Republic. The year is 1939. A Dutch tanker leaves a Renault FT-17 tank stuck in a swamp during tests on a Dutch waterway. 1939. The ambassador to Great Britain, Ivan Mikhailovich Maisky, cuts the bars of the lattice fence of the USSR embassy to donate metal to the needs of the military industry. London, Great Britain. The year is 1943. In 1955, Richard Avedon shot an advertisement for the new Christian Dior collection. He chose his favorite Dovima as a model and decided to capture her against the background of elephants. Baseball players wearing protective masks during the Spanish flu epidemic. The picture was taken in the late 10s of the 20th century, when the terrible epidemic of the Spanish flu was raging in the world. All the people in the pictures are wearing bandages, which indicates that the disease has instilled fear in them. The picture was taken aboard a British ship, the Daphne. It depicts children rescued from being sold into captivity. 1868. The young man in the photo is a German soldier who was forbidden to let people through the Berlin Wall. However, he made an exception for a child separated from his family. The man lifts the barbed wire, looking around in fear that his act will be noticed. From the very beginning, there was more politics than science in this expedition. Its leader, Robert Scott, pictured in the center, and his colleagues had to overtake the team of Raoul Amundsen and reach the South Pole first, so that the honor of this achievement would go to the British Empire. But when the travelers, exhausted by scurvy and frost, finally reached their cherished goal, it turned out that the Norwegians were far ahead of them. Ironically, a blizzard destroyed the traces of the pioneers for a month, and all the snow was trampled by dog tracks. In addition, the Pulheim camp was left at the estimated location, and letters addressed to Scott's group were in the tent. On the way back, 4 people died. This is their last photo. A lucky British soldier shows his damaged helmet, 1918. The Stanford prison experiment began on August 14th, 1971. After Philip Zimbardo, a professor of psychology at the university, divided the student volunteers into 2 groups. 11 of them became guards, and the remaining 10 became prisoners. The professor was interested in how they would behave in an artificial prison. The purpose of the experiment was to evaluate how quickly educated and intelligent people can become violent under certain conditions. This would help to determine once and for all whether people are inherently good or evil. The experiment lasted only 6 days before it was stopped. But during this time, the guards repeatedly insulted and humiliated the prisoners by spraying them with fire extinguishers and forcing them to clean toilets with their bare hands. Fyodor Makhnov is considered to be the tallest man the world has ever seen. His height was 285 centimeters, and he weighed about 182 kilograms. Tea was transported by such wagons from China to Moscow in 1900. This is West Germany. The Kessler twins, Alice and Ellen, Lido de Paris, 1958. These girls were very popular in the West in the 50s and 60s of the last century. They even represented Germany at the Eurovision Song Contest in 1959. All sorts of strange devices were invented at the beginning of the 20th century. Here is one of them, a sound finder, presumably. During the First World War, these devices were used to determine the direction of enemy aircraft. A waiter skating in St. Moritz, Switzerland, 1932. This town has hosted the Winter Olympic Games twice, in 1928 and in 1948. The city of St. Moritz is an elite ski resort in the Swiss Alps on the one hand, and a small, sweet and cozy town on the other. Gorgeous Marilyn Monroe on the background of a refrigerator in her room at the Beverly Carlton Hotel, 1951. Betty Page. Betty dreamed of becoming a teacher as a child until she became interested in theater. After graduating from high school, she went to New York, where she tried to become an actress. Soon, life brought her together with a policeman and an amateur photographer, Jerry Tibbs, which helped create a memorable image for Betty. I would never have thought that these were royalty. However, it is true. Meet King Juan Carlos of Spain and King Constantine II of Greece, 1966. The entrance to the cave. Carlsbad Caves, National Park, New Mexico. 20th USA, Boston. Until 1930, the Boston Children's Hospital kept cows for the production of fresh milk. 1883, Albert Einstein. Little Albert had such problems with speech that others were afraid whether he would learn to speak at all. Einstein didn't start talking until he was 7 years old. Young Elizabeth Taylor on the beach with fans and without security. (1896), Alaska during the gold rush, on the way to the Klondike gold mines, Chilkoot Pass. A young Romanian gypsy, the year 1890. October 28th, 1886. New York, celebration on the occasion of the opening of the Statue of Liberty. Brigitte Bardot, 1955. The Doll Seller, London, 1920s. Ballerinas of the Isadora Duncan troupe in pleated dresses, Paris, 1920. Strongman Stefan shows his strength by dragging a car through the streets of Berlin with his teeth, 1925. The largest banknote in the world is the $100,000 banknote, which was issued in 1934. On its front is a portrait of Woodrow Wilson. He went down in history not only as president, but also as a Nobel Prize winner. Elke Sommer is an American actress of German descent. Women sorting herring, Norway, 1900s. Happy newlyweds at their home, East Beirut, Lebanon, 1989. Attorney's Office, Texas, 1986. St. Sophia Cathedral in the Snow, Istanbul, 1940s. The concept of clothes for the whole family of the Cold War era. England, 1963. The first Volvo car rolled off the assembly line in Gothenburg, Sweden in 1927. Colorado City, 1956. Unsinkable Sam is a ship's cat who served during World War II on a German battleship, a British destroyer, and later on an aircraft carrier, and survived the sinking of all three ships. A chauffeur unpacks a picnic suitcase from a Rolls-Royce against the backdrop of New York, 1930s. The photo was taken in April 1949. Limburg Cathedral and Castle, Hesse, Germany, 1899. Before the advent of drones, aerial photography was carried out by all available means. 1952. The first ever flying man, Otto Lilienthal, crashed in 1896 when his glider fell from a height of 15 meters. His last words before his death were, "Sacrifices are inevitable." Aerial view of the destroyed Berlin, Germany, 1945. According to German data, 42 massive raids, 18,600 aircraft, and 147 small group raids, 7,860 aircraft, were carried out on the city from 1943 to 1945. The city was destroyed by 55 to 60%. A pigeon equipped with an aerial camera, 1907. It was invented in 1907 by the German pharmacist Julius Neubronner I, who used pigeons to deliver medicines. A miniature automatic camera was mounted on the carrier pigeon, which took pictures at regular intervals. The year is 1931. England, London, street cinema. People gathered around the screen where the Mickey Mouse cartoon, Battle on the Farm, was being shown. Evangelist Billy Graham delivers a sermon to 1.1 million Koreans in Seoul, June 3, 1973. He organized large indoor and outdoor meetings where he preached. These sermons were then broadcast on radio and television. Some of them were still broadcast in the 21st century. Ruins of the Temple of Jupiter, Lebanon, 1870 to 1885. The Temple of Jupiter the Guardian is a now lost ancient Roman religious building in honor of Jupiter. It was located on the Capitoline Hill in Rome. Library books are drifting through the streets of Paris. Flood, 1910. Many cities suffered severe damage, but Paris was especially devastated. Parisians expected the usual winter floods, but on January 21st, residents of neighborhoods along the riverbanks woke up and saw that water had risen in basements and streets. A guy from the Koko tribe drinks from the shells of ostrich eggs, used as bottles in the Kalahari Desert. Namibia, 1955. Musicians who continued to play on the Titanic until the very end. 1912. The last thing the orchestra played on the deck of the sinking ship was the church hymn, Closer, Lord, to You. The Renault brothers, the founders of Renault. Already in 1900, the brand's car achieved its first Grand Prix victory, proving itself to be a project of one of the leading automakers. Carl Benz, engineer, inventor of the automobile, founder of the company of the same name, with his children. He is considered the creator of the first car with an internal combustion engine. Foodland Supermarket, Hawaii, 1959. Today, Foodland has 31 stores throughout the state of Hawaii and remains the largest local grocery store. Italian paratroopers armed with Beretta M938A submachine guns, World War II. Young girls on the beach in Melbourne, Australia, 1910. Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, the first steps in politics. Britain's most powerful woman was born in a small town in Lincolnshire into the family of a vegetable merchant in 1925. American Zenith TV set, 1950. The American company Zenith, now part of LG Electronics, was a major manufacturer of consumer electronics, including televisions, in 1950. In particular, Zenith developed and introduced the first TV remote control called Lazy Bones in 1950. A visitor to Sammy's Bowery Follies bar sleeps sweetly at a table while a cat sips his beer. Washington, D.C., 1947. Stagecoaches in Ghent. Belgium, 1912. A stagecoach is a vehicle for the intercity transportation of passengers with luggage, as well as a type of intercity public transport. German soldiers enjoy an evening of drinking circa World War II. (1950s), three fashionable ladies posing on board a pleasure boat off the Italian port of Anzio. The Goshen, Indiana farm boy. Here again, among his chickens with a toy wheelbarrow that he might have used to deliver corn to feed them. 1930s or 1940s. A mother teaching her daughter how to use a spinning wheel. Ireland, 1904. Roma settlement along Ogden Avenue in Lyons, Illinois. Early 1900s. April 1943. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sealing envelopes containing seed at the W. Atlee Burpee Company, seed dealers. March 1943. San Bernardino, California. Women workers employed at the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe railroad shops coming out at the end of the day's shift. May 1943. Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Rural life along the Ohio River. Jimmy Ferguson, son of the local junior high school principal, pouring out a glass of lemonade with his mother. January or February 1923. Headquarters of the U.S. Coast Guard are using a unique method for distributing news of their service by means of radio. Captain F.C. Billard, aide to the commandant, is shown broadcasting. Lieutenant F.A. Zensler is coaching him from the receiving set, which is being used by Lieutenant E.M. Webster, with earpieces. September 1953. Teenagers at a party hosted by teenage cookbook author Betty Betts. includes teenage girls pulling taffy as others watch. Washington, D.C., circa 1922. Girls field hockey group on the ellipse, White House in background. Washington, D.C. Paragon adjustable and reversible aircraft propeller created by Spencer Heath and tested on October 11, 1922 at Bowling Field. Washington, D.C. From around 1918 to 1922 comes this uncaptioned aerial view of firefighting equipment and ginkgo trees on H Street Northwest near the intersection with 14th Street. New Zealand circa 1900. Cobb and Company stage, West Coast Road to Christchurch. Circa 1905. Steamer Manitou at dock, Mackinac Island, Michigan. March 1943. Gallup, New Mexico. Houses for Indian and Mexican workers employed at the Santa Fe railroad shops. May 1943. Bethlehem Fairfield Shipyards, Baltimore, Maryland. Welding in front of the shipways at night. March 1943. San Bernardino, California. Trinidad Gutierrez, left, and Molly Alcanto, women suppliers who work at the Santa Fe Roundhouse. Their job is replacing lamps and oil cans on incoming locomotives. Mrs. Gutierrez has 4 children. Her husband is in the hospital after an injury at the Kaiser Fontana steel mill. Miss Alcanto's boyfriend is in the Army. March 1943. Truck transportation between New Orleans and Texas. Truck driver and sailor at a highway coffee shop on U.S. Route 90 in southern Louisiana. February 1937. Posey County, Indiana. Havoc wrought on farmland, highways, roads, farm buildings, equipment, homes by 1937 flood. Automobile after the flood on Mackey Ferry Road near Mount Vernon. December 12, 1967. Wheaton, Maryland. Shoppers walk past people's drug and Christmas decorations at Wheaton Plaza Shopping Center. Back when shopping days until Christmas was a thing. October 28, 1935. Washington, D.C. Diving exhibition. Navy Day was celebrated at the Washington Navy Yard, a day late since the 27th was a Sunday, by various exhibitions, including the diving show put on here by second-class gunner's mate Emerson Bury Buy. A diving school is maintained at the yard. March 1943. Santa Fe Railroad activities across New Mexico. Men coming out of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad shops in Albuquerque at the end of the day's shift. April 1943. Baltimore, Maryland. Repairing the motor of a PCC trolley. The most recent streetcar model, designed in 1936 by a group of manufacturers and transit companies in an effort to standardize, simplify, and bring down the price. At the damage shop, maintenance terminal of the Baltimore Transit Company. April 1943. Baltimore, Maryland. One armed painter, hired since the war, repainting the interior of a trolley at the maintenance terminal of the Baltimore Transit Company. April 1943. Baltimore, Maryland. Transportation for war-swollen population. Traffic jam as workers of the first shift leave the Bethlehem Fairfield shipyards in cars and trolleys on the road to Baltimore. March 1943. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Workmen washing up at the end of the day at the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad locomotive shops. March 1943. Clovis, New Mexico. Private Clarence Stevens of Streator, Illinois, a member of the U.S. Army Railroad Battalion stationed at Clovis with Sidney Mack engine inspector at the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe railroad shops. They are inspecting one of the 5,000 class freight engines.